1. Greetings, everyone. I am currently in mainland China, where it seems that Mother Nature is unleashing her fury. In recent days, this land has been struck by a series of powerful storms and tornadoes, causing widespread devastation. Could this be a serious warning from nature that we are unable to foresee? Just a few weeks ago, Typhoon Geami made landfall in China with terrifying strength, bringing heavy rain and gusty winds that paralyzed many areas. Not only Fujian but also many other provinces suffered severe consequences from this storm. But it didn't stop there. Right after Geami, a tornado struck the city of Fuxin in Liaoning province, flattening homes and stealing the peace from hundreds of families. Where do these tornadoes come from? Why is China witnessing such extreme weather events this year? Is this just a coincidence, or is it a sign of the unpredictable changes in the climate affecting this region? And more importantly, how will the people here cope with the wrath of Mother Nature? The question is, does mainland China have the capacity to withstand the increasingly severe and frequent natural disasters? Stay with us as we continue to follow and uncover the latest developments from the scene in the coming moments. I am currently in Fujian, where the Super Typhoon Geami is about to pay a visit, with winds strong enough to blow away even my hair. With speeds reaching up to 227 kilometers per hour, one wonders if Geami mistakenly thinks it's competing in a speed race against other storms. Before the storm makes landfall, more than 240,800 residents have been urgently evacuated, leaving behind homes that might soon no longer be shelters, but flyers. Could Geami be planning to break the damage record set by Super Typhoon Geami last year, which totaled nearly $30 billion, but that's not all. Geami is also predicted to bring heavy rain to at least 10 provinces, like an uninvited guest arriving with luggage full of tons of water to pour down everywhere. From Fujian to Beijing, this storm is causing water levels in the Yangtze River and major lakes to dance in the anxious eyes of local authorities. But is Geami a modern-day version of the Twister from Hollywood disaster movies, or just a small tantrum of Mother Nature? And more importantly, will the preventive measures already in place be enough to help China withstand the force of this storm? But you might wonder, why do tornadoes seem so keen on meeting up with Liaoning? According to Kai Kueji, a senior engineer at the Northeast Cold Eddy Open Research Laboratory, the answer lies in the area's flat terrain and temperate climate. This place serves as a perfect playground where cold and warm air masses converge, creating strong convection currents that lead to tornado formation. In a humorous sense, Liaoning is like the main stage for annual tornado performances, with about 3 to 4 tornadoes per year, and on average 1 to 2 striking Liaoning. It's understandable why the locals might be accustomed to facing these fierce winds. But that doesn't mean we can underestimate the destructive power of tornadoes. In fact, experts are still struggling to assess the severity of today's tornado because its intensity keeps fluctuating as it moves through different areas. This time, the tornado seems to prefer passing through dense cloud cover and bustling industrial zones, making its path more unpredictable and harder to control than ever. You can imagine that tracking a tornado is like trying to catch a racing car speeding unpredictably through a track filled with obstacles. But don't worry, experts are continuously working to evaluate and issue timely warnings to protect people's lives and property. Do you ever wonder if we can avoid these sudden visits from tornadoes in the future? And are the current preventive measures strong enough to cope with the unpredictable changes of nature? Let's wait and see. Because the battle between humanity and Mother Nature is sure to continue with more unforeseen twists. At this moment, the entire area was engulfed in an unprecedented whirlwind. The tornado tore through with terrifying force, sweeping away everything in its path. The sturdy buildings that the locals once took pride in were now twisted and deformed like toys broken by an angry child. Trees were uprooted, and vehicles were tossed into the air like autumn leaves. Can you imagine it? Just a few minutes earlier, everything was intact, and now there's nothing left. By 3 p.m., we received information that the tornado had claimed 10 lives, and this number could rise. Broken families, bewildered residents, all are trying to comprehend what just happened. We can only ask ourselves, why Zhuangjianggu? Why now? And it didn't stop there. Can you imagine this? A second tornado was reported to have appeared in another part of the province shortly afterward. We are witnessing a series of terrifying events that no one expected. Just when we thought it was over, nature decided, not yet, there's more. By 3:30 p.m., reports of damage were pouring in. More than 140 buildings and factories had been destroyed or severely damaged. The economy of the entire region is under severe threat. Once busy streets are now littered with debris and tears. Have you ever thought that in just 1 hour, everything humanity has built over many years could be wiped out like this? What led to this wrath? What can we do to prevent similar disasters in the future? Could this be a sign from nature, reminding us that no matter how strong humanity is, we are still only guests on this planet? And the biggest question, what will we face next? Will nature stop here, or do we need to prepare for even worse to come? At 3:45 p.m., as night begins to fall, the people of Zhuangjianggu are trying to pick up the pieces left behind after the nightmare. But in their minds, and in ours, one question still lingers: how will we overcome this challenge? This storm didn't just bring fierce winds and torrential rain, it left behind a legacy of tears for the provinces from Hunan to Anhui and beyond. Have you ever wondered what happens after the storm passes? The answer isn't as simple as clear skies and a rainbow appearing. Geami, carrying with it an enormous amount of moisture, has turned many areas into unintended giant swimming pools. The relentless downpour caused rivers to overflow, leading to widespread flooding and triggering landslides that threaten the lives of thousands. Can you imagine familiar streets suddenly turning into small rivers, where cars are transformed into makeshift lifeboats, from the night of July 27th to July 30th? Heavy rain blanketed the Huanghui region, eastern North China, and northeast China, extending the storm's impact across more than 10 provinces. It's hard to believe that in just a few short days, Geami turned a vast area into a challenging playground for powerful waters that relentlessly surged and swept everything in their path. But the story doesn't end there. The massive moisture brought by Geami triggered a chain of natural disasters, from raging flash floods to terrifying landslides. Small and medium-sized rivers, once seemingly calm, have now turned ferocious, causing urban flooding and severely disrupting daily life. Picture the scene of residents trying to navigate through murky waters. With rubber boots becoming the hottest fashion item of the season, historical data and current forecasts show that each time a major storm like Geami passes through, it leaves behind not just immediate damage but also a painful lesson about the terrifying power of nature. The question is, are we truly prepared to face similar storms in the future? And is there any way to minimize the damage brought by these uninvited guests? Storms are not just fleeting weather events, they are uninvited guests that leave behind unpredictable consequences for millions of people. Imagine this scene. Before Typhoon Geami made landfall, hundreds of thousands of people had been evacuated for safety. But this storm didn't just bring strong winds, it also unleashed a series of heavy rainfalls, like a guest arriving at a party, bringing an entire ocean to pour over the table. It was this massive downpour that turned once peaceful areas into raging rivers, sweeping away everything in their path. The storm may have weakened as it moved further inland, but don't let that fool you. What Geami left behind was a series of severe floods. As rivers overflowed, areas that were once homes and workplaces for millions suddenly became deep water zones. Can you imagine it? One day you're walking on familiar streets, and the next day, they've turned into muddy rivers, sweeping away everything. But the strange thing is, today's storms seem to have a habit of leaving lasting scars. Don't forget that last year, a similar storm caused historic flooding, destroying an entire harvest in the northern region near Beijing, resulting in damages worth tens of billions of dollars. Is Geami competing to reach a similar level of devastation? Scientists are raising alarms that climate change could make these extreme weather events more frequent. And if immediate action isn't taken, we may need to brace ourselves for longer, hotter summers and increasingly intense rains. Perhaps storms like Geami are not just weather phenomena but also a reminder that we are facing a far more troubling reality. The storm Geami is now lurking menacingly. The Chinese government didn't wait long, they swiftly evacuated nearly 300,000 people, hoping that this quick relocation would be enough to dodge nature's powerful punch. But are we moving fast enough to outpace the storm? Geami is no stranger. Before reaching China, it had already wreaked havoc in Taiwan and the Philippines, like a troublesome guest leaving a trail of destruction wherever it went. Commercial vessels were sunk, schools and markets were closed, and lives were completely disrupted. And now, the storm is targeting mainland China, as if it wants to test how well the country is prepared, although Geami may have slightly weakened as it approached. Don't be fooled. The heavy rains it brings can turn familiar roads into rivers in the blink of an eye. Can you imagine? Walking on the streets tomorrow might feel like paddling a boat through the city. Remember last year's storm, when northern China faced historic flooding, destroying a renowned rice harvest and causing nearly $30 billion in damage. Now, Geami might be plotting to make its own mark in history. Transportation services in southeast China have come to a complete halt. Trains and planes are all at a standstill, as if the country is trying to stay calm before the storm's fury. Scientists have warned that if we don't act swiftly, storms like Geami will no longer be rare occurrences but part of the new normal. We are witnessing extended summers with extreme heat and violent storms, as if competing for the title of extreme weather king. So, are we truly ready to face the challenges posed by nature? Or are we still struggling to get through each storm one by one? Don't miss the latest updates from the scene, as the battle between humanity and nature is sure to bring many more surprises ahead.